All right, let's jump straight into this explainer, which literally drops us right into a dimly lit interrogation room. It's 2:17 a.m. We're in a desolate town near the Pakistani border. Imagine this. Cold wind whistling through the broken windows of an old mansion, a single yellow lamp flickering, and there's a man tied to a chair. His hands are shaking, his face is battered and bleeding, but his expression? Absolutely stone cold. Surrounding him in the corners of this room are armed guards with AK-47s, and every single barrel is pointed directly at his chest. So this battered man has actually spent 7 grueling years deep undercover. Suddenly, the heavy iron door creaks open, and a tall man steps in. According to the source, this is Colonel Rashid. He glances at a thick file, glares right at the captive, and tells him that after 7 years of eating, living, and breathing right alongside them, they suspect his entire life is a lie. Then, he presses a pistol right to the guy's forehead and says, "One wrong answer, and your corpse will rot in this alley. Are you Ahmed Khan or an Indian spy?"
The room goes dead silent. You can literally hear the clock ticking. The man calmly takes a deep breath, looks up, and tells the colonel that if he reveals his true name, everyone in that room will be dead by morning. Obviously, the guards are stunned. I mean, is he bluffing, or does he hold a secret that could just flip the whole board? So who exactly is this captive? Well, he isn't Pakistani, and he isn't Muslim. He's actually an Indian spy named Ajeet Doval, a guy who completely erased his name, his religion, and his family to steal national secrets that no satellite or drone could ever pick up.
Section 1, the weapon of trust. Now, to really understand how he survived that crazy night, we've got to rewind to the origins of Ajit Doval. He was born in January 1945 in Uttarakhand to an army family. So, patriotism wasn't just taught to him, it was literally in the air he breathed. He joins the Indian Police Service in 1968, but this guy did not want to just sit at a desk writing reports. He quickly showed this incredibly unique psychological toolkit. He had an innate ability to read people, spot a lie from a mile away, and just understand the unspoken stories behind people's eyes. And trust me, the Intelligence Bureau definitely took notice of that.
Just look at how things played out during the Mizo National Front Rebellion in the 1970s. While your standard officials wouldn't dare step foot into those deep jungles without heavy, armed security, legitimately fearing for their lives, Doval's approach was completely different. He just walked right into the insurgent-held jungles unarmed. No uniform, no security detail whatsoever, just a seriously sharp mind. He went in there to simply listen to the locals and the rebels. No judgment, no hidden government agenda, just listening.
There's this amazing moment where he's sitting by a fire deep in the jungle, and a Mizo rebel commander flat out asks him, "You're a government man. We could kill you right now. Why aren't you afraid?" And Doval just casually replies, "Because I know your fight isn't wrong, your method is." Can you imagine? It completely stunned the commander. Doval proved right then and there that empathy and actually manufacturing trust could disarm enemies way faster than any gun. Because if you make your enemy feel understood, they kind of stop being just an enemy.
And that exact trust-building strategy directly paved the way for the monumental 1986 Mizoram Peace Accord. It essentially ended a massive armed rebellion without kicking off a major military war. The rebels actually laid down their arms and rejoined the mainstream. This whole experience taught Doval a foundational lesson about the psychology of trust. A lesson that, as we'll see, he'd later use against a much larger, far more dangerous adversary.
Section 2, Becoming Ahmed Khan. So fast forward to the 1980s. This was a super volatile era in India, with severe internal security threats, especially the insurgency in Punjab. Now, the intelligence agencies strongly suspected foreign backing from Pakistan, but as we all know, suspicions just aren't enough on the global stage. They needed hard, concrete proof. They needed a ghost, someone who could infiltrate Pakistan, blend into the streets, and grab intelligence directly from the source. Above all, they needed someone who wouldn't break under torture.
The level of grueling preparation required for this mission is just staggering. We're not talking about memorizing a quick fake backstory here. For 6 whole months, locked away in a secret, off-the-books facility, Doval was physically and mentally rebuilt into this new guy, Ahmed Khan. He mastered the specific Lahore street dialect of Urdu. He studied the Quran so deeply that literally no cleric could ever doubt his devotion. Get this, he even had physical scars deliberately added to his body so that his story about being a rugged former soldier from the Afghan border would hold up flawlessly if he ever got interrogated. When the Intelligence Bureau chief finally sat him down in a safe house and laid out these incredibly grim terms, basically making it crystal clear that this was a one-way ticket with zero government protection, Doval didn't even flinch. According to the accounts,
He just took a sip of his tea, looked back with total calm, and asked, "Sir, what's the plan?"
Which brings us to Section 3, crossing enemy lines. Leaving his wife behind without so much as a return date, he kicks off the journey. In the dead of night, around 2 a.m., he crosses the Rajasthan border. Imagine him hiding completely flat in the desert sand, the bright headlights of Pakistani ranger vehicles sweeping right over him. He's just holding his breath, waiting for the patrol to pass, before finally stepping onto hostile soil and making his way toward Lahore. Almost from the exact moment he sets foot in Lahore, his cover gets systematically tested. It starts small. First, a local tea seller tries to casually place his accent, and Doval calmly throws out the Afghan borderline. Next step up, a highly respected Maulvi at a mosque actually quizzes him on Quranic verses. Doval explains them so beautifully that he totally wins the cleric over. And that approval? It opened the doors to elite circles, which ultimately led to the biggest test of all, a senior military officer asking him the most dangerous question imaginable.
So he's in a closed-door meeting, and he's abruptly asked what he knows about Pakistan's highly classified nuclear program. His heart had to be pounding out of his chest, right? But he gives this perfectly calculated answer. He just says, "As much as a loyalist should know, Colonel." You see, a truly successful spy isn't someone who never feels fear. It's someone who never lets that fear reach their face. That one brilliant answer kept his cover totally intact, and more importantly, kept him inside the room where the real secrets were being discussed.
But how do you actually gather the intel once you're in? Well, instead of trying to bust down highly secured doors, he spends his days posing as an ordinary guy hanging out near a nuclear facility. He knew that the best intelligence never comes neatly packaged in one big file. It's like a giant puzzle. He'd piece together these tiny fragments of gossip from lower-level staff. We're talking drivers, clerks, local suppliers. He figured out who was mad at the system, who talked a bit too much, who arrived at what time. Then he'd take all these tiny, seemingly harmless puzzle pieces and quietly funnel them back to Delhi, where the big picture finally started making sense.
Section 4, the ultimate test. Now, an undercover spy's absolute greatest threats aren't usually getting caught sneaking around. It's the crushing isolation and just a misplaced drop of trust. The sheer loneliness of living a lie 24/7 takes a massive psychological toll on a person. And that brings us full circle, right back to that terrifying 3 a.m. raid we started this explainer with. The whole thing started unraveling over a simple human connection. Trying to find just a brief escape from that intense isolation, Doval had befriended a local youth at the mosque. They share tea, have conversations, but in the world of espionage, even a tiny sliver of misplaced trust can be fatal. The youth started getting suspicious and actually tipped off the ISI, and that tip is what led directly to armed guards busting into his safe house in the dead of night. So, facing imminent death in that interrogation room, with guns pointed at him, and the colonel demanding his real name, he had to rely 100% on those 6 months of grueling training. He dug so deep into that Ahmed Khan persona, weaving this incredibly painful, bulletproof backstory. He basically manipulated his captor's psychology just enough to survive the night. He didn't break. He kept telling himself, "Not yet. I cannot break yet," and somehow, against all odds, managed to talk his way right out of an execution. Section 5, the Spy Master's Legacy. While the exact nitty-gritty details of how he made his final escape are still kind of shrouded in intelligence world myths, we do know he eventually made it back to India safely. And he absolutely did not return empty-handed. He brought back critical, actionable intelligence that literally reshaped India's national security policy for decades to come. For his massive sacrifices and for facing all that incredible danger entirely on his own, he was awarded the Kirti Chakra. To put that into perspective, this is India's second highest peacetime gallantry award. It is exceedingly rare for a civilian police officer to receive this honor, especially while still in active service. It was a huge deal. Over the next few decades, we really see this undercover operative evolve into the chief architect of the nation's most sensitive security frameworks. Back in 1999, during that terrifying ICA-14 plane hijacking to Kandahar, he was the lead negotiator, the guy actually sent to speak directly with the hijackers. By 2004, he takes the helm as the director of the Intelligence Bureau. And then in 2014, he gets appointed National Security Advisor. He's held that position for over a decade now, making the really tough calls from the very desk where national safety is defined. I think this explainer really highlights a profound truth about the shadow world.
The most effective tools in espionage aren't those crazy high-tech gadgets or dramatic shootouts you see in the movies. As Doval proved, whether it was in the jungles of Mizoram or the streets of Lahore, the real weapons are psychological. It's having the resilience to endure crushing isolation, the patience to truly listen, and the extraordinary ability to manufacture trust in the most hostile environments on Earth.
And that leaves us with a fascinating, honestly kind of unsettling thought. Ajit Doval didn't look like some Hollywood action hero. He looked like an everyday commoner, a guy sipping tea, a man praying at a mosque. It wraps up this deep dive perfectly by making us wonder, if the people who literally shape the borders and security of entire nations look completely ordinary, what kind of untold, mind-bending stories are hiding behind the faces of the strangers you walk past on the street every single day? Thanks for exploring this amazing source material with me.